Welcome to Ask the Tech Coach, brought to you by the TeacherCast Educational Network. If you are in charge of professional development and looking to build an innovative digital learning experience, this is the podcast for you. Join us each week as we uncover strategies that tech coaches are using to drive their digital transformations one classroom at a time. And now for your host, with over 2 decades of experience working with tech coaches and ed tech companies from all around the world, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Ask the Tech Coach, episode number 247. And as we are recording this, it is only 2 more weeks until the ISTE conference. I cannot wait to see you and everybody else in the great city of Philadelphia. Looking forward to it. I've got a bunch of great sessions coming up, one on Sunday, one on Monday, a couple on Wednesday. And I would love to hear from you guys if you are going to be there. Please feel free to reach out to us over at feedback@teachercast.net. Today, we're going to be talking all about the summertime. I know that as we're recording this right now, I have 1 more week of school. But you know what? I was thinking about this as we were getting ready for the recording. I'm an administrator now, and I don't get a summer. And so I was trying to figure out ways that I can recharge myself, ways that I can get ready. Usually, I think like you, if you're out there listening, you know, we do our year, we do an ISTE conference or something like that, and then we have a few weeks to kind of unwind. Not getting that this year. Probably not getting that for a while. So how do you do it? What do you got? How do you figure out how to sit back, unwind, rewind your batteries, get everything up? To help me with this question today, I have a fantastic coach and podcaster on. I want to bring on Miss Dana Goodyear. Dana, how are you today? Welcome to Ask the Tech Coach.
Hi, I'm doing great. Well, thanks for having me on. And yeah, we've been in contact for a while, trying to get this episode set up. So I'm excited to be on and talk about resting and recharging, even if you're working through the summer.
It is all about resting and trying to figure things out. I know for myself, you know, I took a day today. You know, I took the triplets out to go see The Little Mermaid. That was fun. Spoilers. She becomes a human at the end. I don't know if that's something that we need to talk or spoil about, but it was a really, really good movie. Dana, are you currently on summer break, or is that coming up for you soon?
Yes. So we got out actually 2 weeks ago, May 26th. And I have been busy up until basically today because I did professional development in the district the week after school. And then I attended a conference for the last 3 days here in Denver. So I'll take a week and then we go on vacation for 10 days. And then, yeah, I have about 4 or 5 weeks off. So luckily I don't work through the summer.
Well, I'm going to be working throughout the summer and I'm looking forward to it. Just, you know, for the first time doing this new job as director of digital learning and having a great time with it. But we wanted to come on today to talk a little bit about how instructional coaches can relax and recharge.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, I'm super excited to get away from the world for a few days, going down to Philly. For me, the first thing that I always do in that summertime to relax is attend ISTE. I think this is going to be my 10th year. I know you're not going down this year, but you did just go to a conference. I mean, do you look at conference season as a way to relax, recharge, or is this a business trip for you, or is this a podcasting gig? Like, how do you see these beginning of the summertime conferences?
Well, I see it as a chance to learn more. So I just went to, it's called the Global Minded Conference, and they always host their conference in Denver, but they host it every year in June. And this was a different type of conference for educators because it didn't just include K-12 educators. It included a lot of higher ed people. It included a lot of business leaders. They invited also a lot of college students. So I gave a session on multilingualism and multiculturalism, and a lot of what I have spoken to in the past has been geared towards teachers. And I did know a lot about my was going to come to the session, right? I expected it probably wasn't going to be a ton of teachers, but I'm glad I had a lot of front loading questions, reflection questions, discussion questions. I didn't get time to do all the slides, and that was just fine because we had a very good discussion around the topic of students coming from different countries and challenges that they might have. So that was a good chance at the conference to hear some sessions from a different that higher ed perspective, for example. And I'm going to a summit that's going to be a small group also here in Denver mid-July. And then I have AMLE in the beginning of November. So that'll be a pretty huge conference for AMLE's 50th anniversary.
I think going to these conferences is great. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is meeting other instructional coaches. If you are going to be in Philadelphia at the ISTE conference, there is a fantastic instructional coaches playground, which if you're new to the ISTE concept and playgrounds, it's basically a huge space, kind of like a walled garden, if you will. And then there's just like, a dozen or 15 or so tables. And at those tables are people, and they're given advice and answer questions and answers, and they've got posters and you name it. There's a great session there. I'm going to be doing actually my poster my playground session actually on Wednesday in the middle of the day. All about student podcasting, helping students' voices, talking about how we can help students create their own voice. So lots of great stuff there if you're going to be at that ISTE conference. And please feel free to reach out to me. The other thing I always like about the summertime is finding other professional development, finding other PD courses. I got to tell you, Dana, in the last couple of weeks, I spent some money. I re-upped my ISTE membership. I even re-upped my ASCD membership. My school district and I were signing up for an organization called COSIN. We're just trying to figure out how do we start to keep up with that professional learning throughout the year, right? How do we get on those newsletters? How do we start to organize all this information that's coming in? What professional development courses or memberships, what do you belong to?
So I've also belonged to ASCD, so I get their emails a lot through, I would say every 2 times a week, right? They're hosting a lot of these, I would say 1.5 to 3 hour webinar courses. A lot of their authors host. So that's a great opportunity if you want to dive deeper into a topic or a book. I've also attended webinars from AMLE, Association of Middle Level Educators. Those are usually free. They usually host a webinar about once every other month. And I'm actually going to be speaking on Tuesday, June 13th at SIBME. It's SIBME. And this is an instructional coaching platform. A lot of people don't know about it. And I actually heard about SIBME through the Principal Center with Justin Bader. I've been doing a lot of work through his center for the past 5 years. And it's a great tool for administrators and instructional coaches to use when they're observing teachers. But SIBME, the company, it has this online conference that they started in 2020. And so it's the 4th year of the conference. And this is the 3rd year I've spoken at the conference. So I'll be speaking on finding your own PD niche. What can you do to grow and develop your own personalized PD plan? So one of the things I talk about is looking at the offerings from those organizations you're a member of. And I'm also, I'm on the board of directors for the Colorado Congress of Foreign Language Teachers. And we've put on web sessions in the summer as well in the past, and we'll be looking to do that more in the future. But I think whether it's a national organization or a statewide organization, usually they'll put on something throughout the year that you can tune into. And, I even just go to YouTube a lot of the time and just listen to podcasts, watch podcasts. I like watching Unlocking the Middle. Every week they put out about 3 broadcasts, and Principal Caffelli's Virtual AP Leadership Academy. Those are my top choices of kind of those podcasts and broadcasts that I listen to every week. While I'm working, I kind of multitask and listen to those at the same time.
I echo all of that too. There's a lot of great YouTubes that I watch. Many of them, to be honest, are not educational. They're just, those get your mind off of things. And, I've been watching a lot of the YouTube free movie, just anything just to kind of get my mind out of the office every now and then. Anything I can do just to kind of unwind and relax. Um, one of the things that I do plan on doing this summer, I've been talking about it a lot here on the podcast, is finishing up my book. It's almost done. In fact, after we get finished recording here, I was saying I'm probably going to be putting some of the final touches on it, and the goal is to get it out to the publisher by the end of next week, if not sooner. But in addition to finishing off my book, I know I'm looking forward to having other authors coming on this show. With your podcast, do you have an opportunity to talk to a lot of authors or read a lot of books from other educators?
Yes. So when I started my podcast 3 years ago, a lot of the people that I first started contacting were authors of books that I had recently read. So I started my podcast in May of 2020. And I kind of looked back at a lot of those books that I'd read the year up to the time I started the podcast. And I just cold contacted a lot of them. And not everybody responded, but I did get a lot of well-known authors who responded and had a chat on the podcast. And then it's kind of just gone from there. There's a lot of books that I've had people on and heard about their book and then bought the book afterwards, or sometimes they're kind enough to gift me the book. And I've also written my own book, which came out about 6 months ago, early December. Out of the Trenches: Stories of Resilient Educators. So that's both some stories from some of the guests on my podcast, but it's also more of a kind of self-help book that talks about, like, if you're stuck in your role, what can you do to learn and grow? And I talk about some of this professional learning that we're talking about today, but I also talk about just taking time for yourself and getting to know and find out your why, because your why changes throughout your career.
Yes, absolutely it does. I've been reevaluating what my why has been for the last 10 weeks or so in the new position, and I think that's important. And even just with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out what your why is, but also having that opportunity to connect with other instructional coaches. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a secret here. The reason I love doing this podcast is I get to have you on the show. I get to
Mm-hmm.
bring on other people who are in the same trench that I am, trying to figure out the same things that I'm in, trying to work with the same types of teachers that I'm doing, and just having an opportunity to sit back and go, so Dana, how do you do it? And why do you do it? And what are some of the things and what are the resources that you have? You and I are both in a professional network, the Teach Better podcast network, where it's a bunch of educators that happen to do podcasts, but we both have a chance to connect with others in a similar field. I don't know about you. I find that extremely helpful to have a team like Teach Better or, Google Educators, Microsoft Innovative Educators. I mean, to have a group like that to lean on and really bounce ideas off of, I just find that extremely valuable, especially in the summertime when you could just go on to like a Voxer chat or an email chat or whatever and just pose any question that you want. And then people come back at you with all these great answers.
Yeah, and I think that's I ditto that in terms of just being a part of Teach Better Network. I've been a part of for about the last 3 years. I've been on the podcast network for the last 2 years, and now they're using Circle, so it's more of that online opportunity to hear about different topics and people's comments to those different topics. And I'm also a part of a couple masterminds as well. So these are groups that meet usually weekly. I'm a part of one of the authors. So I published my book through Road to Awesome, and we're now having a monthly author mastermind. So just kind of hearing from other authors and some of their book promo ideas and things like that. But yeah, Teach Better hosts a admin mastermind every Tuesday. So I tune in and hear about what other people are struggling with and some tips that we can give each other. And I'm also part of the Better Leaders, Better Schools mastermind. So we talk a lot about we talk about different books, but we also have that space where a leader's talking about an issue that they're currently having and need some feedback on. So I really love the opportunity to hear from other educators, and they can support me along the way as well.
You've been mentioning some great resources here, and I hope everybody has a chance to check out our show notes over here on episode number 247. We're going to make sure that we have all the links and stuff to that. But you mentioned Justin Bader's group, which Justin's been a great friend of TeacherCast over the last 12 years. Danny Bauer's been a great friend over the last 12 years. Teach Better, certainly a part, this show is part of the Teach Better network. And it brings up this concept of having, and I know Danny talks about this a lot, this whole mentor concept, having somebody to lean on or having some buddies to lean on. We know we can't do this alone. And I think the summertime is a great opportunity just to kind of sit back, have a conversation with somebody in a mentorship role. Doesn't have to be an official mentor, doesn't have to be a paid mentor, but just having somebody that you can sit back, maybe, go have a cup of coffee with, go find some time at an ISTE conference, but just sit back and find somebody. I don't have to have a name, but I mean, do you have a mentor that you just kind of reach out to for either your profession or your podcasting or your business sense? I mean, do you have somebody that you lean on? And if so, how does that relationship work?
Yeah, and I would definitely mention those two names that you have just dropped. I would consider those two guys as mentors, and also Corrine Veldhausen. She's taken over the group in Better Leaders, Better Schools that I'm currently in the group that we meet with every Wednesday. So, and these are people that I can, schedule time with. Like Justin, when I'm having interviews and things like that for administrative positions, I can call him and set up a time and then, get some interview practice. So he supported me with those things and resume reviews. He does a great job on giving people feedback in the admin job search. And Danny, he's great at he, for example, a year ago, I was thinking about that this morning, the Teach Better team. And I think you spoke on that. They had a podcast network summit. And Danny also spoke as well in giving podcasters tips. And, he's one of those guys that knows a lot about how to promo and how to, form the episode for people who are getting started with podcasting. So I definitely reached out to him when I was getting started and, bounce ideas off of him every so often. So yeah. And I think anybody who's in a coaching role or a teaching role, if they can find somebody, it could be somebody in their building or district, but also if you have the opportunity to connect with somebody virtually who's not necessarily in your district and that has that perspective of like how it's done in other places, right, can really help. And yeah, just having that either virtual cup of coffee or meeting up with the person every now and then to just bounce some ideas off of. And they've probably been in your shoes before, and they have a lot of expertise in the area.
Finally, one of the things that I'm trying to do this year is start something new. And my new goal for the holiday season, December-ish, was my kids and I started to do 3D printing. And that was a new goal. That was a new skill. That was a new hobby. That was a new something. I'm of course saying this as I'm staring at my 3D printer, looking at me going, do something with me. But I'm trying to find something similar that maybe I can do with the kids this summer. I've talked to them a little bit about, building our own computer, going down to like a micro center and buying some parts for something, just, teaching them how to fend for themselves a little bit more, something that's, again, not school related, not podcast or TeacherCast related, just something that I can do and, help my kids form a new hobby. I'm just curious with the summertime coming up, anything that you're looking to do this year that you're, maybe a new adventure for you?
No, I don't really think I'm going to start anything new at this point. I did have the book I was working on a lot last year and getting that ready to publish. And but I always like to just travel to new places. I would say maybe that's something new. We're going up to the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia in a few weeks. And, I mean, I think just continuing the blogging that I'm doing for Teach Better Team, continuing participating in these mastermind groups, always writing new proposals to conferences and maybe stepping outside the box because there's some conferences I've kind of recycled the same the same presentation that I've given, and now I like to do some new things, like just actually speak on a new topic, speak on things that I've learned a lot from in the last few years. So I mean, I wouldn't say those are big things that I'm actually trying something new or a new hobby with, but just kind of stepping a little bit more outside the same old, same old.
What are you looking forward to this summer with your podcast? Are you keeping things status quo? Are you doing more? Are you doing a little bit less?
Probably a little bit less. So yeah, I'm definitely not going to be recording when I'm on my vacation. That's only a 10-day vacation, but I've kind of let a lot more guests come to me in recent months, and not like really been so like having to contact people as much as I used to, and in terms of just feeling like I have to record a certain amount of episodes per month. I have a good bank of episodes. So, I'll just kind of record as I get to it. And we met through the Teach Better Team podcast network. So I've been doing that for the last couple months, kind of doing episode swaps with people on the podcast network as well, and getting to know you all.
Well, we certainly want to say thank you to Dana for coming on the show today, sharing a little bit about what she's looking to do over the summer. I hope you guys are going to have a great summer. And if you are going to be at ISTE, please reach out. Being in my new position here, you're probably not going to be seeing me running around as much as in the past with a microphone. I'm going to certainly be meeting people and working with people and doing sessions, but I got to tell you, Dana, it's going to be interesting going to this conference for the first time with a different set of eyes. All the companies that I'm used to meeting and interviewing, I'm now interviewing them as the decision maker, not as the podcaster. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be interesting. I think probably I'm going to have a lot less equipment to carry, which I think I might enjoy. But we are going to be doing some sessions on Sunday morning. I'm going to be looking forward to this. I believe I got to double check here, but I think it's 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. We're doing a whole session on how do you create student content creators. And the thing I'm excited about that is I'm doing it with my 9-year-old son. And we're going to get together and we're going to be showing off some of the things that we've been doing here and how he's turning into a content creator through his 3D printing and through his websites and spreadsheets. And I got to tell you, that's 9 years in the making, and I'm going to be looking forward to it. So if you have a chance, check that session out. I don't remember off the top of my head what that session's called, but it is going to be on Sunday morning. I think it's 10:30 in the morning. So check all that stuff out. And I believe I've also got one on Monday. And again, I think I've got 2 on Wednesday. So lots of great stuff happening. And I want to say thank you guys for being with us here. We are almost at that time where we're going to be celebrating 12. I got to double check, Dana. 12 years or 13 years. I forget where we are coming up here, but it's going to be TeacherCast birthday month in July. So looking forward to a lot of great things like that. Dana, where do we get in touch with you? How do we find that great podcast of yours?
So my podcast is called Out of the Trenches. So you can find it on the Teach Better podcast network. You can find it where you download all your podcasts. My website is danagoodyear.com. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook at Dana Goodyear, and on Instagram at Out of Trenches PC.
And that wraps up episode number 247 of Ask the Tech Coach. On behalf of Dana and everybody here in TeacherCast, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you guys to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.
You've been listening to Ask the Tech Coach, hosted by Jeff Bradbury of the TeacherCast Educational Network. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach or online at www.askthetechcoach.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.